Today, we're diving deep into a really powerful critique of one of the biggest thinkers out there right now, Yuval Noah Harari. And we're not just talking about fact-checking a few details. Now, we're going to question the entire story he's telling us about who we are and where we're headed.
So let's start with a really provocative question that the source material puts right at the center of its whole argument. What if the story we're being told about data and algorithms isn't really a new scientific breakthrough at all, but is actually a new kind of religion for the digital age?
To really get a handle on this, the source suggests we look way back, like 700 years back, to a guy named Thomas Aquinas. See, Aquinas was the philosopher who laid out the theological groundwork that justified the whole feudal system, the power of the church and the nobility. And the argument here is that Harari is doing something very similar today, but for our new lords, the tech monopolies. He's crafting a new gospel where data, with a capital D, has taken the place of God.
And that brings us right into our first section. Are we actually looking at a new digital theology? The source even has a name for Harari's body of work, a Summa Technologica. Think of it as a grand theory that basically serves the interests of today's new data lords, just like Aquinas' big books served the feudal lords of his time. So what's the whole point of this new digital gospel? Well, according to this critique, it's not just some abstract philosophy. Its real job is to make the immense power of big tech seem, well, inevitable. Not like a series of choices made by corporations, but more like the unavoidable next stage of evolution, a force of nature that we can't and shouldn't resist.
The source uses this incredible analogy, comparing Harari's work to a constant, relentless drumbeat. And the idea is that this rhythm is so powerful, so hypnotic, it gets all of us marching in perfect lockstep, without ever really stopping to ask, hey, where are we even going? It's a beat that's designed to drown out the quieter, more personal rhythms of our own bodies, our gut feelings, our doubts, our anxieties.
All right, so let's start dismantling the core beliefs, the dogmas, of this new theology. And the first one is a big one. The idea that any living thing, including you and me, is basically just a really complicated algorithm.
And there it is, straight from Harari himself. This is the absolute foundation of his whole argument. I mean, if this is true, then it follows that humans can be perfectly modeled, predicted, and ultimately managed and manipulated, just like any other computer system. But is that really what we are?
The critique hits back at this with what it calls the thermodynamic hammer. See, an algorithm is a closed system. It just processes information. But a living body? That's a totally different beast. It's an open thermodynamic ecosystem. It's constantly burning energy, exchanging stuff with its environment. It doesn't just compute, it metabolizes, it struggles, it lives.
And biological evidence against this simplistic organism as algorithm idea is, well, it's overwhelming. The source points to all this deep infrastructure inside of us, the vagus nerve, which is this massive information highway between your gut and your brain, the so-called second brain in your gut, the trillions of microbes living with you, even the heart, which is way more than just a pump. This isn't a machine, it's a wildly complex ecology. Now let this one sink in for a second. A full 80% of the signals traveling up that vagus nerve go from the body up to the brain, not the other way around. This completely flips the script. It means the brain isn't really a CEO barking orders. It's more like a listening post, constantly getting flooded with intelligence reports from the rest of the body. And get this, over 90% of our serotonin, that key chemical for feeling happy and stable, is made in our gut, not our brain. So this whole idea that our mind is just some software running on the hardware of our skull, it just doesn't seem to square with our actual biology.
This brings us perfectly to the second big dogma, which is built right on top of the first. If we are just walking, talking algorithms, then our deeply felt sense of free will, well, it must be an illusion.
Harari's take on this is pretty clear, and the critique argues that by framing it this way, he very conveniently disarms us. I mean, if your choices aren't really your own anyway, then why would you bother protesting when an algorithm starts making them for you? If we're just hackable animals, then hacking us isn't a violation. It's just an engineering problem.
But what if Harari is just looking in the wrong spot? The source uses this great analogy. He's like the guy who loses his keys in a dark alley, but only looks for them under the streetlight because, hey, that's where the light is. He's trying to find free will in the brightly lit area of our conscious, narrating thoughts, while completely ignoring the vast, dark, unlit territory of our body's deep intelligence.
So the source makes this really crucial distinction between two different parts of ourselves. First, you have the cortical ego. Think of this as your inner narrator, The little voice in your head that's always telling stories and making excuses for why you did what you did. This part is super easy to hack. But underneath that, there's the root mind. This is the deep, ancient, autonomous intelligence of the body itself. This is the part that feels and acts, often way before our conscious narrator has even figured out what's going on.
And here is the core of the whole counterargument. Just because our inner narrator, the cortical ego, is a bit of a fraud and likes to take credit for a decision after the body has already made it, that doesn't prove will is an illusion. It just proves the narrator isn't the one in charge. The real decision, the real orientation, the will, came from that deeper self, the root mind.
Okay, so now that we've seen these dogmas taken apart, the source asks a really important question. What's the political game here? What's the motive? And this leads us to this powerful idea of the human body as a new kind of territory, one that's ripe for colonization.
And there's a name for this: techno-colonialism. The idea is that just like old-school colonialism seized land and took its resources, this new form of colonialism seizes the human body to extract data. Our attention, our emotions, our very biology. That's the new frontier.
And how does this harvest work? It's a three-step process. First, capture. Our attention is grabbed, usually by cranking up our fear and social anxiety. Second, fracture. That attention is then broken down into tiny, measurable little bits that can be bought and sold. And finally, monetize. The system then sells us solutions, mindfulness apps, productivity tools, to fix the very fractured state that it created in the first place.
Now I know. This all sounds incredibly bleak. But the source doesn't just leave us there. The final section makes a really powerful case that if the body is the territory being colonized, then it's also the ultimate place where we can resist.
The alternative framework proposed here is called somatic materialism, and it basically throws out that old idea of a mind separate from the body. It argues that our real intelligence, our real will, isn't found in that hackable cortical ego. It's located in the material reality of our living, breathing body, that root mind.
And this is where the body's ultimate weapon comes into play, the metabolic veto. This is the point where the body just says, nope, I'm done. It's not a conscious choice, it's a physical thermodynamic reality. It's burnout, it's chronic fatigue, it's that anxiety that no wellness app can touch. It's the body's absolute, non-negotiable refusal to keep running on an unlivable operating system, and no algorithm can override it.
This really gets to the fundamental limit of this whole project, right? The system can capture a representation. It can capture the data, but it can never, ever capture the thing itself. It can't capture the life. A perfect map of the world is still not the world. The system can grab our data shadow, but it can't grab the living being that casts it.
So we end with this powerful, thought-provoking idea that after centuries of putting the mind on a pedestal, the ultimate resistance to a system of total digital control might not be some new political theory. It might just be the simple, stubborn, material fact of our own bodies, the one thing the algorithm can never fully compute, predict, or contain.